What do you even say when the neck kiss you called just a dare shows up as Exhibit A in your own divorce? How did I go from laughing on a club floor while another man's mouth was on my skin to standing in a hospital cafeteria with legal papers in my hands? Why did I think I could cheat, blame my husband, and still keep my family, my home, and my story under my control? Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible stories. My name is Sylvia Arden, and people keep saying it was just a dare until they see the video. In the clip, I am on a crowded club floor, laughing while a guy I barely know leans in and kisses my neck. The music is loud, the lights are bright, and I look alive in a way I had not felt in years. My friends are cheering, phones are up, and for a few seconds, I forget I have a husband and a little girl sleeping at home. My husband, Elias, walked in at the wrong moment, or maybe the right one, depending on how you look at it. He saw the kiss, saw my smile, and saw the people around us watching. He did not scream or fight, he just turned around and left. I told everyone that proved how weak and controlling he was, that any strong man could handle a stupid dare. I said it was harmless, that nothing really happened, that men do worse every weekend. I kept saying that even when he started saving videos, writing down dates, and walking through our apartment with that cold, careful calm that comes before something official. The night of the dare started like any normal Friday that had gone a little stale. I was in the apartment kitchen, staring at my reflection in the dark window while I fixed my eyeliner for the third time. The light above the sink was harsh, but the club would be dark, so I focused on how the glitter looked when I turned my head. Behind me, Elias was packing Nora's little lunchbox for the next day, like he always did, even on weekends. He said it kept her routine steady. I said he was dramatic. Children did not need a plan for everything. He asked what time I would be home. I said it depended on the music and the mood. He said he worried about me drinking too much and taking a cab alone. I told him not to worry, that the girls would look after me. I added that I was not a teenager sneaking out, and that he should stop treating me like one. Nora, sitting at the table with her crayons, asked if I was going to a party without her. I laughed and said it was just for boring adults. When I grabbed my jacket from the hallway, I saw our little wall planner. It used to hold simple things: dentist, school events, birthdays. Now there was a small red circle around a day next week. No words, just the circle. It annoyed me, that silent mark. At the same time, Elias's phone lit up on the counter. A tiny box slid down from the top of the screen. Lakeside, 3:20 p.m. He reached over and cleared it before I could ask. I joked that he had secret meetings now. He said it was nothing big, just personal things. His tone was too flat. I told myself he was trying to make me feel guilty right before I went out. I kissed Nora's head, not his, and left. The club was already buzzing when I arrived. The bass made the floor feel alive under my heels. Colored lights swept over the crowd, catching glitter and sweat and hair in soft flashes. My friends were near the bar, waving. Kira handed me a drink and said I looked like trouble in a good way. I liked that. I wanted to be trouble in a good way. Marco was working behind the bar, moving fast. He always had a half smile, like he knew a joke no one else did. He slid my usual drink toward me and said he liked my new hair. I told him it was just a trim, but I smiled wider anyway. He laughed and said I had to toast with him later because Friday shifts were long. It felt good to have someone notice small things, like a tiny hair change. After a few songs and a few drinks, someone suggested a game. It was simple, truth or dare, but louder. We formed a loose circle on the dance floor, shouting over the music. People dared each other to sing into strangers' ears, to dance on the bar for 10 seconds, to take shots without making a face. It was childish, but also warm. I felt young again. I felt like more than a mother and a receptionist. Then one of my friends pointed at me and said it was my turn. I chose dare. I always chose dare. Truth leaves you sitting still. The friend glanced toward the bar, where Marco was leaning on one elbow between orders. She grinned and said, I should let him kiss my neck. The circle screamed and laughed. Someone already had their phone up, ready. For half a second, I thought about Elias at home, folding dish towels. Then I thought about being the boring one who backed down. I lifted my hair with one hand and tilted my head. Marco looked surprised for a moment, then amused. He came around the end of the bar, stepped behind me and leaned in. His lips touched the side of my neck, not rough, not gentle, just there. The crowd around us cheered like it was a show. The music drowned out everything else. Phones flashed. For that moment, all I felt was heat and air and the sense that I was still wanted. I did not see Elias walk in. I found out later that he had agreed to pick me up. In my head, it was just a vague plan. In his, it was a promise. He had texted that he was on his way. I had not checked my phone. He came through the club entrance just as Marco leaned in. So his first sight of me that night was another man's mouth on my neck and my friends laughing. By the time I noticed him, he was already turning away. Our eyes met for a second across the space. His face looked empty, not angry. That somehow made me feel smaller. I lifted my hand as if to wave, but he pushed through the crowd and disappeared toward the doors. I chased him out to the street, the air suddenly cold and thin after the heavy club air. He was standing by his car, keys in his hand, jaw tight. I told him he was leaving without me. He asked what he had just seen. I said it was a dare, just a dare, nothing real. I laughed like it was nothing. He said it looked real enough. I said he was overreacting and that everyone was doing things like that inside. He asked if I would be okay with him letting some woman kiss his neck as a dare. I said men did worse every weekend and nobody cared. I told him I was allowed to have fun, that he made me feel like I was on a leash. He went quiet. His silence felt heavier than any shout. On the drive home, he kept his eyes on the road. I scrolled through my phone, already seeing the first video of the dare in our group chat. The clip was short, me laughing, Marco leaning in, my hand in his hair for balance. I watched it twice, mostly checking how my neck looked. I told myself I looked good. I told myself that if I looked good, it could not really be wrong. At home, Nora was asleep, her small socks on the living room floor. The sight annoyed me for no real reason. Elias picked them up, folded them, set them on the back of the couch. He said we should talk when I was sober. I said we could talk now. He said he was too angry and did not want to say something he would regret. I said avoiding the talk was weak. We went to bed, but it did not feel like bed. He lay stiff on his side, back to me. I lay on my phone side, the bright screen close to my face. Messages kept coming. People called me wild. Some said I was brave to push boundaries. One asked if Elias was mad. I typed that he was being a baby about a stupid dare. At some point, the room went quiet except for the faint hum of something down the hall. I thought it was the fridge, until I heard the soft shuffle of paper. Curious, I got up and padded into the hallway. The small printer on the table near Elias's desk was still warm. A single blank page sat in the tray. No ink, just the faint grooves of rollers. Elias came out of the bedroom in his t-shirt, eyes tired. He picked up the blank page, folded it in half, and slid open a drawer in the cabinet. Inside, I saw a folder labeled Household in his neat writing. He slid the page in, closed the folder, then shut the drawer with a small click. I asked what he was doing. He said he was keeping things in order. I laughed and said he could not print order on blank pages. He did not answer. He walked back to the bedroom. As he went, his phone on the bedside table lit up for a second. A call came in with no name, just the word private. He looked at it, let it buzz twice, then sent it to silent. I went back to bed, lit by my phone again. The newest video of the dare had a closer angle, more of Marco's face against my neck. I watched it with mixed excitement and annoyance. Next to me, Elias lay on his side, breathing slowly, but I could tell he was not asleep. The next morning, the first thing I saw was my own neck. The phone was still in my hand from the night before. The video had stopped on a frame where Marco's mouth was right against my skin, my head tipped back, my eyes half closed. My makeup looked good. My hair felt just right. For a second, I forgot why my chest felt tight. Then I rolled over and saw the empty space beside me. Elias was already up. I walked into the kitchen barefoot. The smell of coffee and toast was too normal for how strange I felt. Nora sat at the table in her pajamas, drawing little circles on a page. Elias moved around the counter, quiet, putting slices of apple into a box. He asked how my head was. I said I was fine. He asked if I remembered the drive home. I said of course, like he was stupid to even ask. He said he had not slept much. I told him that was his choice. He tried to talk about the club. He said he could not get the image out of his mind. I said it was a stupid dare, that everyone was drunk, that it meant nothing. I reminded him that he had seen worse things in movies. I said real cheating was different. He said it did not feel different to him. I told him that was his insecurity talking, not reality. On the wall behind him, the planner stared back at me. The red circle around next Wednesday looked deeper somehow. My eyes went to his phone on the counter. It lit up for a second on its own, like it knew I was looking. A reminder slid down. Meeting, personal, 7:40 a.m. He picked it up and cleared it so fast it felt guilty, even if it was not. I asked if he was going to a secret club for jealous husbands. He said it was just something he needed to sort out, nothing for me to worry about. I told him I would worry if he kept acting like I had done something terrible for letting a guy touch my neck. Nora looked up and asked if Daddy was sad. I said Daddy was being dramatic. Elias said nothing. At work, the clinic felt brighter than usual, almost too bright. The open plan reception desk was already busy with phones ringing and people checking in. Kira looked up as soon as I walked in. Her eyebrows went high. She rolled her chair over the moment there was a break in the line. She asked if the video was real. I laughed and said it was just a dare. I told her everyone was screaming, and the music was loud, and you could not take anything in a club that seriously. I said Elias had walked in at the worst possible moment and acted like I had betrayed him. Kira asked if he had shouted. I said he had stormed around and dragged me outside like I was a teenager. In my head, I knew he had only walked out, but the storm made a better picture. Another girl from the back came over when she heard. I told the story again, adding details each time. I said Marco barely touched me. I said the camera angle made it look worse. I said if Elias trusted me, he would have laughed and joined the circle. They nodded when I used words like trust and freedom. They shook their heads when I used insecure and controlling. It was easy to make him the villain in a room full of women tired of strict men. Between patients, I checked my phone. The group chat was full of clips from different angles. The one I liked most showed my good side. I saved it to my gallery under a cute name. I did not save the one where you could see Elias in the background, just inside the door, before he turned away. Marco sent me a message around 11. He said he hoped I was okay and that he did not mean to cause trouble. He added a winking emoji and said my neck was famous now. I sent back a laughing face and told him my husband was being a baby. I said men did worse all the time and got away with it. He replied that I was wild. The word warmed me from the inside. Wild felt better than wife. At lunch break, Kira and I went to the small gym 2 streets away. In the locker room, the air smelled like deodorant and shower steam. As soon as we sat down on the bench, the other women asked again about the video. News travels faster than sweat. I told them how Elias had grabbed my arm in the parking lot and demanded to know what happened. In truth, he had only stood there with his keys in his hand, but grabbed sounded more serious. One woman said she would have left him on the spot. Another said, Men were always allowed to flirt, but women got shamed for less. I agreed loudly. I said I was tired of double standards. No one in that room had seen the way he picked up Nora's socks last night, the way his shoulders had dropped. They only saw the part where he looked bad. After work, I stopped at the supermarket. The checkout line was slow, full of people half watching their phones. I opened mine and saw that someone had posted the video in a larger group, not just our friends. The caption read something like, "When you find out your wife is for the streets." The phrase stung in a strange way. I typed a long comment under it about how people did not understand context, about how it was just a game. When I glanced up, the woman behind me in line was watching my screen. She asked, in a careful voice, if that was the club video people were talking about. I laughed and said yes, that people were dramatic, that it was just a dare. I added that my husband was the only one who could not handle a little fun. Her mouth did a small, tight line. She said she hoped things worked out for our little girl. That annoyed me. People always act concerned when they want to judge. Back home, the apartment felt like a stage after the show. Quiet, messy, sad. Nora ran to me and asked if I had fun at my party. I lifted her up and said it had been boring, that adults did not know how to have fun. She frowned and said she had seen a video on Aunt Mara's phone of a man kissing my neck. I froze for a second, then told her it was a silly game, like when she played pretend at school. She seemed half satisfied, half confused. Elias was at the dining table, laptop open. The screen showed a grid of cells, a spreadsheet. I recognized dates down the left side. On the top row, there were words in small letters: event, place, witnesses. In one cell, I saw Club Dare. In another, lunch at Myrna's. My stomach dipped, then jumped straight to anger. I asked if he was making a list of my sins. He said he was writing down things to keep them straight. He said memories get blurry, especially when stories change. I called that manipulative. I said normal people did not turn fights into data. He said normal people did not let strangers kiss their neck in front of cameras. That line hit harder than I expected. On the shelf beside his laptop, the cabinet drawer was slightly open. I saw the edge of the household folder. This time, there was a thin plastic wallet on top of it, holding a single photo print. The image was mostly dark, but I could just make out colored lights and a crowd. The angle was low, like from someone's chest pocket. I reached for it. Elias slid the drawer shut with a soft thud before my fingers touched it. He said he had to go out early the next morning. He mentioned the name Lakeside again, like it was a place and not just a time. He said it was a personal meeting. I said he was being dramatic and shady. I hinted that if he could have secret meetings, then I could have secret messages. He looked at me for a long time, and then said he could not stop me from doing anything. He said he could only decide what he would live with. After dinner, I flopped on the couch and posted a selfie with my hair still a little messy from the night before. Over the photo, I wrote that some men cannot handle a woman who belongs to herself. The likes came fast. A few friends sent fire emojis. One of them tagged me under the video with the comment, "She did nothing wrong." That felt like proof. In the kitchen behind me, I heard the small beep of Elias's phone, the kind it made for calendar alerts. He picked it up, tapped the screen, and I saw the words, "Meeting, personal, disappear." A second later, another notification came through, this time from a message thread named Follow Up. He opened it, read for a quiet moment, then locked the screen when he noticed me looking. I was still watching my own face on my phone when my clinic manager's name popped up in my notifications. He had tagged me in nothing, but a direct message preview showed one polite line asking if we could have a quick word about my recent posts. The next day at work, I walked into the clinic with my head up, like nothing was wrong. It was easier to act calm than to feel it. The waiting room was already full. Phones were ringing. Kids whined. Old people leafed through magazines. I slipped behind the reception desk and logged in, ignoring the tight feeling in my stomach. Kira watched me with that look that was half worry, half curiosity. Before she could roll her chair over, my manager Jonah called my name from the hallway. He said he wanted a quick word in his office. My feet went cold. In his small office, the air felt heavy. There was a plant in the corner and a stack of patient files on his desk. He asked me to sit. He said some of the staff had shown him my recent posts and the video from the club. He said he did not want to pry into my private life, but I was the first face patient saw. He asked if I was okay at home. I told him I was fine, that my husband was just the jealous type. I said the neck kiss was part of a dare, nothing more, and that people online were making it bigger than it was. I added that I was just being open and honest, that other people were uncomfortable with a woman owning her choices. He looked tired. He said he was not judging my choices, only asking me to think about how much drama I attached to the clinic's name. He said some patients had recognized me. He suggested I keep personal things a bit more private. I nodded like I agreed, but inside, I told myself this was still Elias's fault. If he had not walked in, there would be no drama to talk about. Back at the desk, Kira asked how it went. I told her Jonah had basically tried to police my posts. I said it was because Elias was making people think I was unstable. She frowned. She said maybe everyone just needed some time to cool down. I did not like the word everyone. It made it sound like I had done something real. In the afternoon, while I was confirming appointments, my phone buzzed with a new group chat. A birthday night for one of Kira's friends. They wanted to go to a rooftop bar this time, not the club. There were pictures of string lights and big cocktails. Someone wrote that they should do more dares, because the last time was legendary. I felt a rush of heat under my skin. Legendary. That was my neck they were talking about. I typed that I was in. I also typed that I might bring my husband this time, to prove we were healthy and fun. People reacted with surprised faces and claps. I liked that. I liked the idea of showing Elias to everyone and acting like nothing was wrong. That evening, I told him about the rooftop plan while he chopped vegetables in the kitchen. He asked if Marco would be there. I said probably. It was a bar. He worked in bars. He went very quiet. I told him if he refused to go, it would make him look guilty, like he could not handle facing people. I said if he really trusted me, he would come and show it. He agreed after a long pause. He said he did not want to fight in front of strangers. He said maybe seeing our friends together would help clear things up. I told myself that meant I had won. The day of the rooftop, I dressed carefully. Not too wild, not too plain. I wanted to look like a woman who was out of my husband's league, but still his. I kept checking my phone for messages from Marco. He sent one at the last minute saying he was working the bar upstairs that night. He added a line that said he hoped to stay out of trouble. I sent back a playful emoji and told him not to be boring. When we arrived, the sun was almost gone. The city lights were coming on, small stars in straight lines. The rooftop had glass rails and tall plants in big pots. Music played, softer than at the club. People stood in loose circles, holding drinks and laughing. Kira waved us over to a long, high table. Most of the girls were already there. Marco moved behind the bar like he owned the air. He saw us and lifted his chin in greeting. For a second, I felt a twist in my stomach. Then I told myself this was my chance to prove to everyone that I was not guilty. I made a point of standing between Elias and the others at first. I touched his arm, smiled too brightly, asked him if the view was good. He said it was nice. He looked nervous, like he did not know where to put his hands. I hated that. I wanted him to be confident or broken, not this half thing. The drink started coming. Someone shouted that we needed a toast. They asked what we should toast to. Before I could answer, one girl raised her glass and said, "We should toast to men who can handle a fun wife." People laughed. Some looked at Elias to see his face. I lifted my glass and said that yes, we should toast to that. I added that controlling men could stay at home with their spreadsheets. A few of them laughed too hard. Elias looked down at his drink. My words hovered between us like steam. Marco came over with a tray and set down shots for everyone. He said it was from the bar on the house. When he put one in front of me, his fingers brushed mine. It was nothing big, but I felt it. I told myself I was just sensitive because of all the noise around us. Kira, already tipsy, pointed at me and smirked. She said the last party had gone crazy because of me, and that we needed a new story for this one. The others started clapping and stomping lightly. I heard someone chant, "Dare, dare, dare," like in a cheap movie. I laughed, but my heart sped up. Elias shifted beside me. He said we did not need to play games tonight. I said he was being no fun. I told the table that he was still stuck on a harmless neck kiss, like it was the end of the world. I rolled my eyes in a way that made people laugh. It worked. He looked smaller. Someone shouted that we should do another dare with Marco to heal the drama. Another voice said we could redo the neck kiss, but with Elias watching, so he could see, it meant nothing. The circle around the table started to tighten. Phones appeared in hands, screens glowing. Marco raised his palms and said he did not want trouble. I leaned into the joke. I said loudly that my husband trusted me and knew the difference between a dare and cheating. People turned to Elias, waiting. His mouth opened, then closed. He said he did not think it was funny. I replied that nobody asked if he thought it was funny. The chant started again, half joking, half real. Dare, dare, dare. Drinks clinked. Someone started filming, holding their phone up over the group. The pressure of eyes and bright screens made my skin feel tight. For a breath, I thought about saying no. If I said no, it would make what happened before look bigger. If I said yes, it would prove my point. That was how I framed it. I turned my head slightly and lifted my hair, just an inch. Marco shook his head once, but the crowd sound swallowed it. He leaned in, quick, like he wanted it over. His lips brushed the same spot as before. The circle around us screamed. Someone slammed their hand on the table like a drum. Someone else shouted that round 2 was better than the first. I pulled away with a laugh, pretending I did not notice Elias's face. When I looked at him, his eyes were different. The first time, he had looked hurt. This time, he looked empty, like the pole of a sign after someone ripped the sign away. He set his drink down very carefully. He told me, in a flat voice, that he had tried to move past it, but he could not live like this. He said this was not something he could unsee or explain to Nora. I said he was making a scene, even though he had not raised his voice. I told him everyone would think he was weak. He did not answer. He stepped back slowly from the table. His phone buzzed in his hand. A tiny alert flashed on the screen. Paper drop, 9:05 p.m. He tapped it away without looking. Then he turned and walked toward the stairs, shoulders straight. Around me, people were still laughing, replaying the last few seconds on their screens. Kira shoved her phone toward me, showing a clip where you could see Marco's head dip toward my neck and my smile wide in the frame. In the background, if you looked closely, you could see Elias's back as he walked away. The fallout from the rooftop started small, like a crack in a cup. The morning after, the apartment was quiet in that heavy way that makes every sound sharp. Nora was at the table with cereal. Elias sat opposite her, still in his t-shirt, eyes dark under the kitchen light. I walked in, pretending nothing had happened. He asked how late I stayed at the bar. I said not that late. He asked why I did it again when I knew how much the first time hurt. I said it was just a dare, that the second one was more for the joke than anything else. I added that doing it in front of him proved it was harmless. He stared at me like I was speaking another language. On the wall behind him, the red circle on next Wednesday looked even brighter. His phone lay on the counter. A small notification from the calendar slid down and vanished before I could read it. I thought I saw the words, meeting. Personal again. He cleared it with a quick thumb, like swatting a fly. Nora looked between us and asked if we were mad at each other. I said no, we just had grown-up talks. Elias said nothing. That silence, again, made me want to push harder. Later that week, Thomas and Mirna invited us for a Sunday lunch. When I told Elias, he said he did not feel ready to sit around a table pretending everything was fine. I told him refusing would make him look guilty, like he had something to hide. I said his parents would think he was the problem. That landed. He agreed to go. Their house smelled like baked chicken and soap. Family photos covered the walls. Some of them were of our wedding day before all this. I tried not to look at those. In the living room, I noticed a little guest bed made up in the small side room. The pillow had a faint dent in the middle, like someone had been sleeping there. The sight gave me a sharp, mean thought. He had run to his parents like a boy. I pushed it aside and smiled at Nora as she ran in. On a shelf beside the TV were 3 thick binders with tidy labels: home, auto, bank. Another, thinner one sat slightly to the side, labeled utilities. It was thicker than I expected a bill folder to be. Thomas went over, checked one binder, then shut the shelf with a firm hand. The movement was small, but it nagged at me. Lunch started okay. We sat around the table, plates full, glasses sweating. Conversation was normal at first. Thomas asked about my work. I said the clinic was busy. Mirna asked Nora about school. Nora talked about a song they learned. For a moment, you could pretend everything was regular. Then Clara, who had insisted on coming, brought it up. She asked with a chuckle if anyone had seen the famous video. She said it like she was proud. Mirna's fork paused. Thomas's jaw shifted. Elias closed his eyes for half a second. Clara went on, saying it was just a silly dare, and that people online needed to chill. She said she had told her card group that her daughter was too pretty to be boring. I felt the table tighten around us. Mirna asked calmly what exactly happened. Her tone was soft, but her eyes were sharp. I launched into my usual version. I said we were playing truth or dare, that everyone was doing crazy things. I said a friend dared Marco to kiss my neck, and that I had gone along with it to keep the game fun. I added that Elias had walked in at the worst moment and made it bigger than it was. Clara nodded along, like I was giving a speech. She made a noise and said that men forgot women needed attention. Thomas stared at his plate. Finally, he looked up at me and asked if there had been a second time. The room went quiet. I hesitated only a second. Then I said yes, but that the second time was even more clearly a joke, because Elias was there and everything. Mirna blinked. She asked why. If I knew it hurt him, I allowed it again. I said loudly that I was not allowing anything, that I was just living my life. I said if he trusted me, he would know a dare kiss and cheating were not the same thing. I brought up how men slapped backs in bars and nobody cared. I called this whole drama a double standard. Elias spoke up then, voice low. He said it was not about rules from old movies. He said it was about respect. He said he could not explain to his own daughter why her mother laughed while someone else kissed her in front of cameras. I shot back that he was making it about a child to get sympathy. Nora, who had been drawing beside us, looked up. She asked if Mommy was going to marry Marco now, since I had kissed him twice and everyone was talking about it. The question landed like a dropped plate. Clara tried to joke and say Nora was too smart. Mirna looked like she had swallowed glass. Elias got up and took Nora's hand, said they should wash their hands before dessert. He led her to the bathroom down the hall. I watched his back again, straight and tense. When they were gone, Mirna turned to me. Her voice was steady. She said she had tried to give me time and grace. She said she had told herself the first neck kiss was a stupid mistake, but hearing about the second one, the rooftop dare, and how I talked about it like a funny story. She said that was different. She said it hurt her to see her son made into a joke. She added that it scared her to see how casual I was about what Nora saw and heard. She said children remember more than we think. She said there was a line between fun and cruelty, and that I had crossed it. I told her she was being dramatic for a woman her age. I said times had changed. I said high standards, and personal freedom meant not acting like your husband owned your body. I accused her of wanting me to be quiet and grateful. Clara jumped in, saying Myrna was just jealous of my youth and options. That was too much, even for that room. Tomas put his fork down and said quietly that this was their house and their table. He said they would not sit and listen to me laugh about hurting their son. He said I could have my freedom, but not at the cost of turning their family into a weekly show. Dessert came out, but the sugar did not fix anything. Nora ate ice cream, not seeing the adult storm over her head. Elias barely touched his slice. I ate mine quickly, just to have something to do with my mouth. After lunch, Elias took Nora to the backyard to look at tomatoes growing in pots. I stayed inside with the older people. Clara went out to smoke by the side door, her phone glowing in her hand. Myrna asked if she could speak to me alone. We went into the small study off the hallway. It was a narrow room with a desk, a printer, and a little shredder in the corner. Papers were stacked neatly on the desk, some flipped so you could not see the front. On a low shelf, those binders waited, their labels straight. Myrna closed the door most of the way. She said she did not want to fight. She just wanted me to hear her clearly. She said if things went on like this, she and Tomas would have to think about what was best for Nora, not just for me and Elias. She said they could not pretend everything was okay if their granddaughter grew up watching her mother act like this. I asked if that was a threat. She said it was a concern. She said they loved Nora, and they loved their son, and they did not understand what I was doing. She asked if I had thought about who would be at my side when all the fun stopped. I told her she was trying to turn everyone against me. I said she was manipulating Elias, filling his head with papers and proof, pointing at the binders. She looked at them too, and said sometimes paper was the only way to protect what was real. As we walked back into the hall, I heard a low whirring sound start up behind us. The shredder had been turned on. Thin strips of paper slid into the little bin. Tomas passed us in the corridor, holding a small stack of torn receipts. He nodded once, eyes tired. On the drive home, Nora fell asleep in her car seat. Elias stared straight ahead. I messaged Clara and told her his parents had threatened custody without using the word. She sent back 3 angry emojis and said in-laws always tried this. She told me to stand strong and not let them see me scared. That night, we carried Nora up to bed. She woke halfway and asked if we were going to live with Grandma and Grandpa since they had a bed already made. She said Grandpa's house felt calmer than ours. Elias kissed her forehead and told her she would always have both of us somehow. He did not look at me when he said it. I tucked her in and stood there, watching her small chest rise and fall, feeling like she belonged to a story I could not fully control. When I stepped back into the hall, I could still hear the echo in my head. Myrna saying they would think about what was best for Nora, and Tomas's shredder chewing paper behind a half-closed door. After that lunch at Tomas and Myrna's, our apartment did not feel like ours anymore. It felt like a place where someone was planning to leave. Elias moved more things into the guest room. At first, it was small stuff, a book, a charger, a pillow. Then one night, I walked past and saw his work bag on the chair and his slippers beside the bed. The duvet on that bed was wrinkled like someone had slept there more than once. Our bedroom, in contrast, looked staged, like a room in a catalogue that nobody really used. I asked if he was moving out in stages. He said he was trying to lower the tension for Nora, that she slept better when we were not arguing down the hall. I told him he was abandoning me. He said he was trying to protect his daughter. He did not say from what. I heard the word daughter and decided he was using her as a shield. That was easier than asking myself if maybe I was the thing to be protected from. One morning at breakfast, he brought up Nora's school again. He said we should make a clear schedule for who picked her up on which days, who did drops, who handled sleepovers at grandparents', He had a piece of paper folded in his hand. I could see lines and little boxes, like a chart. I snapped that we were not divorced and did not need custody calendars. I said he was turning normal parenting into a court drama. He said calm families also use schedules. He added that Nora needed to know what to expect. I said she only needed love, not grids. Nora looked up from her toast and asked if she was going to live in 2 houses like Mia in her class. Elias said no, that she had 1 home and 2 parents. His voice was steady, but he would not meet my eyes. I told myself he was lying to her and decided that made me the honest one. That afternoon, I went to pick Nora up from school. The line of cars wound around the block. Parents leaned out of windows, small talk drifting from car to car. As I pulled in, I saw Elias's car already near the front. He got out and walked over to my window with that careful, measured walk he had now. He asked if we could talk quickly. He had a clipboard in his hand, the kind teachers use. At the top of the page, in plain black letters, it said, "Statement." Underneath, I saw dates and short notes. My name, Nora's name, words like club and rooftop. My face burned. I laughed and asked if he was writing a confession. He said he was writing facts, so he would not forget anything. He added that when people tell stories, they sometimes skip parts. He said he did not want to skip anything important. The way he said important felt like a finger on my neck. I told him normal husbands did not keep statements about their wives. I said this was creepy and obsessive. He said normal wives did not let other men kiss them twice in public and then laugh about it. A couple of parents behind us went quiet and looked at their phones very hard. Nora came out then, running up with her backpack. She jumped into my car and asked who was taking her to the park today. Elias smiled at her and said maybe tomorrow after school, if the schedule worked. She asked what schedule. I cut in and said Daddy was just making boring lists because he liked paper more than people. Elias's jaw tightened for a second. He kissed her forehead and stepped back. A few days later, I had a late shift at the clinic and drove past Elias's office building on my way home. The underground parking garage was open, green light blinking. I saw his car down near the back and, for no real reason, pulled in. He was standing at the back of the car, trunk open, phone at his ear, headphones in. His voice echoed slightly in the concrete space. I stayed in my car with the engine off, window cracked, just enough to hear pieces. He said dates in a slow, careful order. The club night, the rooftop bar, Tomas's birthday lunch. He added Nora present after some of them. He used short names, club neck, roof neck, Sunday table. It sounded like a list, not a story. A soft alarm sounded from his phone. I heard the words, paper drop from the little speaker before he tapped it away. He opened a folder in the trunk, took out a plain envelope, slid another paper into it, and sealed it with his palm. Then he put it into a small box and closed the trunk. I told myself he was being dramatic, playing out some fantasy where he was the serious man taking notes on his wild wife. I decided it made him ridiculous, not dangerous. That helped me breathe again. When I met Kira for coffee the next day, I spilled all of this across the table at the co-working cafe. I said Elias was talking in garages about me, keeping records, planning something. I acted scared and innocent, like I had only ever gone along with jokes, and now he was building a case. Kira stirred her drink slowly. She asked if I had talked to Marco again. I said that yes, I had sent him a few messages, but he was being distant. She asked if I could really say I had done nothing wrong when there were 2 neck kisses, secret coffees, and now family drama. I told her that sounded like she was taking his side. She said she was trying to see the whole picture. I did not like how that sounded, so I changed the subject. Later that week, I met Marco at the same cafe. I had pushed and hinted for days until he finally said we could talk. He arrived in a hoodie, hat pulled low, eyes scanning the room. He sat across from me, hands around his cup like he needed to hold something solid. I told him Elias was acting crazy, that his parents were collecting papers, that they had threatened custody. I said he might get dragged into it. I expected him to feel sorry for me, to blame Elias, to pull me into some warm hug. Instead, he looked even more nervous. He said he did not want to be in the middle of anything legal. He said he had thought it was just fun flirting at first, then a messy thing, but now it felt serious. He added that he did not want to be a reason a little girl's life changed. I said he was cowardly, that he was throwing me under the bus now that things were complicated. I reminded him that the first dare had been his idea too, even though that was not really true. He said we both had choices, and that he was making his now. He stood up, said he hoped I would be okay, and left. I watched him go and told myself I did not care. I told myself he had never really been anything. But the hollow feeling in my chest did not listen. At home that night, the apartment felt like a waiting room again. Nora was coloring at the coffee table. Elias was in the kitchen, separating groceries into neat piles. There were 2 mugs on the counter, one near the stove, one by the sink. They looked like they belonged to different people in different houses. I started the fight myself. I said I had seen him in the garage, that I knew he was talking about me, that he was trying to turn everyone against me with his statement clipboard and secret envelopes. I said if he wanted to leave, he should just leave instead of turning our life into a spreadsheet. He wiped his hands on a towel and faced me fully. His eyes were tired, not wild. He said he had tried talking, begging, waiting, forgiving. He said each time he did, I turned the story around and made him the problem. He said he had listened to me call him controlling in every room we entered. He said he had watched our daughter hear the word Marco more than she heard the word father. I told him he was being dramatic, that I had only ever told the truth. He said my truth kept changing depending on the audience. That line cut close, so I laughed to cover it. I said nobody believed him anyway, that everyone thought he was overreacting to just a dare. He looked at the floor for a moment, then back at me. He said he was done trying to win any story. He said he had written down what he saw, saved what he needed, and talked to people who understood this better than we did. He said from now on, he would handle things properly. The word properly fell between us like a heavy object. It sounded final. It did not sound like a threat. It sounded like a plan that was already moving. I asked if he was proud of himself, building a case against the mother of his child. He said he was protecting his child, not attacking me. He said I would see that soon, even if I did not want to. Then he stepped past me, walked down the hall and went into the guest room. The door closed with a soft click. I stood in the kitchen staring at nothing. The room felt too bright. On the counter, his phone buzzed once. The screen lit up in the dim hallway reflection. A muted call from private slid across, and just below it, a calendar alert appeared. Harbour Suite, 11:35 a.m. The alerts disappeared as fast as they came, leaving only the black glass and my own face faintly mirrored. Elias texted that he wanted to meet in the hospital cafeteria before Nora's checkup, to talk calmly. I chose a soft sweater, practiced sad eyes in the car mirror, told myself I could still fix this if I cried at the right time. The cafeteria was bright and noisy, trays clattering, people in scrubs everywhere. Elias sat at a corner table, hands folded, face calm. Before I could start my speech, a man in a plain jacket stepped up, said my full name, and placed a thick envelope in my hands. Petition for divorce, temporary orders, custody.